Good morning, guys. Welcome to the online classes. By the last class, we have completed the discussion of atomic structure, synapses. From this class, we are going to discuss about the objective questions of atomic structure. Before that, I hope you are all doing good, and I hope that you are all following the classes regularly and also doing the work given sincerely. And most of you are doing sincerely, but a few are directly asking the questions given for the homework in the groups. Better whenever you are given with some homework, go through the synapses first. Even you are asking direct question from the synapses also in the group. So before solving the questions, revise the synapses completely and follow the video lectures properly. So if you follow all the classes and if you revise the synapses of the chapter, you will able to answer all the questions. Okay, because we are the homework is given from the what are the concepts which are discovered and what are the concepts that are given in the syllabus, right? So if you utilize this term, it will be advantageous too, that will help you to move a step ahead in your journey instead of wasting the time in worrying about when the college will start. Don't worry whenever the college maybe starts, but till then the important thing is that you have to utilize the time that you have now. If once it is gone, it will be gone. So never you get it again. So better involve in the process sincerely. Be sincere to yourself, right? Whatever the homework is given for you, you give a try once. If not, then ask for an hint. Then after that, instead of asking direct solution, try to get an hint, and from that try to solve the questions by yourself, because in the examination that is you who have to solve the questions, so you need to be practiced with them. We'll start the discussion with the conceptual questions of atomic structure. Here comes our first question. Which of the following pair have identical value of E to M? Right? What is the meaning of this E to M ratio? The ratio of E to M is called as specific charge. Is asking the specific charge to mass ratio, which is called as specific charge. We generally call it as charge to mass ratio. And let us see which of the following particles have the similar charge to mass ratio. A proton and neutron, a proton and deuterium, a deuterium and alpha particle, an electron and gamma rays. Generally we know that. Let us see the charge to mass ratio of proton. What is the charge of proton? We know that charge of proton is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. And what is the mass of one proton? That is 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. Right? If you simplify this, you will get the mass around 9.6 into 10 power 7 coulombs per kg. You will get the mass charge to mass ratio of a proton is equal to 9.6 into 10 power 7 coulombs per kg. And if you are talking about the charge to mass ratio of neutron, right? Charge of neutron is 0 and mass of the neutron is, it is equal to the mass of the proton approximately, right? We can take it as approximately 10 power minus 27 kg, so which comes to be the 0. So we can exclude the what is it? The first option. Charge to mass ratio of proton and neutron are not equal. And what are the other options he has given? A proton and deuterium. We have already determined the charge to mass ratio of proton. Let us see the deuterium. What is mean by deuterium? Deuterium is an heavy isotope of hydrogen. Hydrogen has 3 isotopes. What are the 3 isotopes? H11, H12 and H13. This is we call as deuterium. Okay, nitrogen atom with atomic mass 2 we call as deuterium, right? So if you are trying to calculate the E to M ratio of deuterium, it will be, the charge will be equal, it contains only one electron and one proton. The charge will be equal to what? 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. But what is the mass of deuterium? The mass of deuterium is 2 AMU. What is mean by AMU? We know that 1 AMU is equal to 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. So from this what we can write? 2 into 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. If you solve this, it comes equal to 4.8 into 10 power 7 coulombs per kg it comes. Alright, and what is the other one? So from this what we can get? The E to M ratio of proton and deuterium, are they equal? No. Right. Now what is the other one? Deuterium and alpha particle. Deuterium and alpha particle. Right. Deuterium we already calculated. We will see the alpha particle. What is mean by alpha particle? Alpha particle means helium plus 2. Right. Sorry. Yeah. Helium plus 2 will be called as alpha particle. These helium plus 2 particles are called as alpha particle. What is the mass of helium? 4. Right? Its atomic number is 2 and it contains 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Mass becomes 4. So from this, if you are calculating the charge to mass ratio of alpha particle, which comes to, it has 2 units of charge and 4 units of mass, which comes to be equal to 1.8 into 10 power 7 coulombs per kg. So from this what we can conclude? See, the charge to mass ratio of deuterium and alpha particles are found to be same. Alright. So what is the answer from this? What we can conclude? Deuterium and alpha particles are having the same charge to mass ratio. What is mean by gamma rays? Right. The gamma rays, basically electron and gamma rays, their charge to mass ratio is not equal. You need not be calculated. If you want to, you can verify it by calculating by using this process. So answer will be what it is. Deuterium to alpha particle charge to mass ratio will be similar. This is how you have to calculate the or compare the charge to mass ratio of any given two particles. Hope it is clear. Let's move to the next question. Here comes our next question. An oil drop has 6.39 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb charge. What will be the number of electrons in the oil drop? Right? This is a question from the oil drop experiment of Mulligan. So here he has given the charge of oil drop and asking us to find out the number of electrons in that oil drop associated with. So what are the options? 2, 4, 8 and 6. Let us see. So what he has given, the given information is that a charge, we know that charge of one electron is how much it is? Charge of one electron is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. Alright. So what is the charge of oil drop given? He has given the charge of oil drop is given as, what he has given? 6.39 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. Right? He has forgotten to give the it is not mentioned, but it is in the coulombs only. So if one electron has charge of 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs, then how many number of will have the charge equal to 6.39 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs? We just need to do a cross multiplication. Here the number of electrons will be equal to 6.39 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs upon 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. If you simplify this, it comes to be equal to 4. So the number of electrons associated with the oil drop having a charge of 6.39 into 10 power minus 19 will be equal to 4. Right? Look at the next question. In the Rutherford alpha ray scattering experiment, gold foils are used due to. Generally, you might have studied, you have already studied the Rutherford atomic model. What was the experiment associated in the Rutherford atomic model? The experiment associated is that scattering, alpha particle scattering on gold foil. Okay. In that experiment, what he has taken a gold foil which is being bombarded with the alpha particle. Why he has used gold foil other than any metal? You might have used silver, or you might have used platinum, or you might have used even iron also. Why only he has used gold plate? He is asking the reason for it. What are the reasons given? High malleability, ductility, high melting point, high ionization energy. Which of the following is the reason for the usage of gold foil in the alpha particle scattering experiment conducted by Rutherford? See, gold foil is basically selected because of its malleability. What is mean by malleability? Malleability is the property of metal which helps us to convert it into very thin sheets, which can be converted into very thin sheets. So the gold foil is having highest malleability among the metals, that it can be converted into very thin sheet. That means you can take a minimum number of atoms. So because of that particular property, okay, malleability means it is a property which helps the metal to be converted into very thin sheet. And what about the ductility? Ductility is there is a property of a metal to be converted into very wires. It can be extended to any long wires we want, right? And melting point is not the reason, ionization is not the reason. The reason is that the malleability of the gold, among all the metals, the malleability is highest for the gold. Because of that reason only, the Rutherford has selected the gold as experimental instrument for the determination of nature of nucleus and as well as nature of atom. Hope it is clear. Among A1020, B1121, C1122 and D1222, the isobar combination is, right? What is mean by iso? Iso means same bars. Isobars means basically the atoms having same, okay, mass number and different atomic number are called as isobars. What is mean by isotopes? Isotopes are having same atomic number and different mass number are called as isomers, right? Isotopes. I said isomer. Let us see which of the following two are isobars. What are the given elements? He has given the elements here. A 1020, B 1121, C 1122 and D 1222. Let us see their atomic number. Generally atomic number is represented with Z. What are their atomic numbers? It is 10, it is 11, it is also 11 and it is 12. And what is their mass number? Mass number is represented with A, right? It is 20 and this is 21, this is 22 and this is also 22. So what is mean by isobars? Isobars means atoms having same mass number but different atomic numbers. If you see, these two are having same mass number but their atomic numbers are different. So we call them as isobars. These two are having same atomic number but their mass number is different. So these are called as isotopes. B and C are isotopes and C and D are isobars. I think he has asked us identify the isobars. So what is the proper combination? A and B, B and C, C and D and A and D. So C and D are going to be what? Isobars. What is clear? The atomic weight of an element is 23 and atomic number is 11. The number of protons, electrons and neutrons respectively present in the atom of the element are. Here has given an element X, right? Generally what is the representation of elements in the periodic table? It is represented X, Z and Xe. What is the value of X given here? It is atomic number is 11 and mass number is given as 23, right? Now generally we know that number of protons in a neutral atom will be always equal to, what is this? Number of protons will be equal to atomic number, right? So that it will be equal to what? 11. And number of electrons in a neutral atom will be equal to what? Number of electrons in a neutral atom will be equal to atomic number. It will also becomes to be 11. And number of neutrons, how to find out the number of neutrons? It is equal to mass number minus atomic number. What is the mass number given? 23. What is the atomic number given? 11. So which comes to be how much? It comes to be 12, right? So number of See the sequence. He has asked proton, electrons and neutrons. 11, 11 and 12. So what are the options given? 11, 11, 12. In the first option itself we have the correct combination. That is 11, 11, 12 it is. Alright? Hope it is clear. The number of photons of light having wave number x in 1 joule of energy source is Planck constant is h, velocity of light is c. Try to understand the question. What is asking? The number of photons of light having wave number x is 1 joules of energy source is, right? So generally we know that. What is the relationship between? This is a question from the photoelectric effect, that E equal to N h nu, right? Where is number of photons? H is Planck constant, mu is the frequency, right? Now what he is asking? The number of photons of light having wave number x, right? Having wave number is c. So we can substitute this. He is asking wave number. What is mu here? Mu is frequency, right? We have to take the wave number here, right? Energy has given. What is the energy has given? He has given the energy as 1 joule, right? Now from this what we can write? E is equal to N h c by lambda. Since we know that mu is equal to c by lambda, right? Now what can I write this as? E equal to NH C mu bar. What is mu bar here? We know that mu bar is wave number, which is reciprocal of what is this? Wavelength. Right? What he has given? E value has given us 1. That means 1 joule is equal to NHC mu bar. And here I have said that he has given the nu bar value as x, but he has given the wave number. Let us substitute this value here. It will become 1 joule is equal to Nhc x. From this, what he is asking? He is asking the number of photons. What is in here? N is the number of photons. From this, what we can write? N will be equal to 1 by, right, Hcx. This will be the number of photons that will be emitted, right? The radiation associated with the wave number x having an energy of 1 joule. So what will be the answer for this? Yeah, this will be the answer, 1 by H6. Hope it is clear. Which of the following relates to photon both as wave motion and as stream of particles? Which of the following relates to photons both as wave motion and as a stream of particles? What are the options given? Interference equal to mc square, diffraction, and is equal to h nu. Generally we know that photons or electrons basically behaves as dual nature. Some of the properties of light can be explained by considering the particle nature of light, and some of the properties of light can be explained by considering the wave nature. Right? He is asking which of the following represents both wave nature as well as particle nature of the photons or light. This interference and diffraction are the properties of light which can be explained by considering wave nature of light. Whereas this E is equal to m square is based on the particle nature of the light, and the equation which represents both wave nature as well as particle nature of the light is, this is the equation which is called Max Planck's equal to h nu. It relates the both wave nature as well as the particle nature of the light. It's a direct question. Now try to read the question. The threshold frequency of the threshold frequency for photoelectric emission of electrons from platinum is 1.3 into 10 power 15 second inverse. Then incorrect statement is, he has given the threshold frequency of photoelectric energy of platinum, which is having what is the value 1.3 to 10 power 15 per second, right? So is asking which of the following statement is incorrect. The number of electrons ejected from the metal surface will depends upon the intensity. First of all, it is a question from the photoelectric effect. What is mean by threshold frequency? You should understand what is mean by the threshold frequency. Whenever you are using the threshold, that tells us the limit, right? Generally, what is mean by photoelectric effect? This is a phenomenon of emission of electrons or photons from the surface of the metal when it is irradiated with the light or any source of light. This phenomenon we call as photoelectric effect. And what is mean by threshold frequency? This is the minimum frequency which is required to emit the electrons from the surface of the metal. If the frequency is less than this threshold, there will be no emission of electron. If it is more than that, then it's okay, it will emit the electron, but this is the minimum limit. Okay, threshold frequency means this is the minimum frequency which is required to have the emission of electron from the surface of the metal or in order to observe the photoelectric effect. That is the meaning of threshold frequency. He has given the threshold frequency of platinum and asking us to identify the which of the following is incorrect. What are the statements given? The number of electrons ejected from the metal surface will depend upon the intensity. Yeah, this is actually a true statement. The number of electrons or number of protons emitted from the metal surface will be directly proportional to the intensity, right? The radiation having energy 1 into 10 power minus 20 joules will be able to cause photoelectric effect. He has given the energy. Let us try to calculate the frequency of that energy, okay, which will causes the photoelectric effect or not. Let us see what is the relation between the frequency and energy, right? We know that energy is equal to hν, right? What is h? H is Planck constant, mu is frequency, is the energy of the photon. He has given the energy. What is the energy given? Energy has given 1 into 10 power minus 20 joules. He has given. What is h value? H value we know that 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 joules second. Alright, and we have to find out the mu, right? Because we have been only the threshold frequency. What is the threshold frequency given? 1.3 into 10 power 15 per second. If the threshold frequency is less than that, there will be no emission of electrons. If the threshold frequency is equal or more than that, it can emit the electrons. Let us find out. From this, what we can write? Mu will be equal to E upon h, which comes to be, substitute the data here. What he has given? 1 into 10 power minus 20 joules per 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 joules per second. Right? On simplifying this, you will get the value will be, it comes around 1 point. I have the value, I'll leave it. It comes 1.5 into 10 power 30 per second. Right? Here joules get cancelled and remains with the second inverse. So what is the threshold frequency? Here threshold frequency is given 1.3 into 10 power 15 per second. See, here this is the frequency associated with the having an energy of 1 into 10 power minus 20 joules. Will it be able to cause the radiation? This is the minimum frequency, right? This is the minimum frequency. But here the frequency associated with the energy of 1 into 10 power minus 20 is how much it is? 1.5 to 10 power 30, which is less than the threshold frequency, right? Since this frequency is less than the threshold frequency, there will be no emission of electrons. Emission of electrons will take place when the radiation is having the threshold, the frequency of the radiation is equal to threshold frequency or greater than the threshold frequency. But here the frequency is less than the threshold frequency, so that what he is saying, the radiation having energy 1 into 10 power minus 20 joules will able to cause the photoelectric. It is actually incorrect statement. There will be no emission of electrons, the radiation having an energy 1 into 10 power minus 20 joules. This is a wrong statement, and the rest of the statement might have to be correct only. If it is a single correct answer, we will go through them. If radiation having frequency 1.3 into 10 power 14 strikes the platinum surface, photoelectrons will not be ejected. Why? Because the frequency is less than the threshold frequency. Here the threshold frequency is a magnitude of 10 power 15. Here it is in 10 power 14. right? So this is having frequency is less than the threshold frequency. It is a right statement. There will be no emission, right? The kinetic energy of the emitted electrons will increase with increase in the frequency, provided it's greater than 1.3 into 10 power 15. This is also right statement. The kinetic energy increases if the frequency of the radiation increases. The remaining energy will be converted into the kinetic energy, right? So this is how you have to interpret the data and answer this type of questions. He has given the threshold frequency, but he has given the information regarding energy. From using this data, you need to calculate the frequency of that radiation. If the frequency of that radiation is equal or greater than threshold frequency, there will be emission of electrons. If the frequency of that radiation is less than the frequency of threshold, right, radiation, then that it will be there will be no emission of electrons. Hope it is clear. Now let's move to the next question. All type of electromagnetic radiations possess same. All type of electromagnetic radiations possess same. So what are the properties given? Wavelength, frequency, energy, velocity when they pass through the vacuum. Generally we know that there are different type of electromagnetic radiations such as X-rays, UV rays, gamma rays, visible rays. All these type of different type of electromagnetic radiations will not contain. Their wavelength will be different, right? Their frequencies will be different, and their energy is also different, right? If frequency and wavelength are different, energy will also be different. Then what is the common? Their velocity is common. They have the velocity when they pass through the vacuum. This is the property which will be same for all the electromagnetic radiations, right? Hope it is clear. In the hydrogen spectrum, the spectral lines of Balmer series having lowest wavelengths. First of all, you should know what is meant by Balmer series. In the hydrogen spectrum, right, there are several spectral lines depending upon the from which energy level to the which energy level the electron is falling, right, in the emission spectrum. Suppose if you are talking about the hydrogen spectrum, assume that this is the first energy level, this is the second energy level, this is the third energy level, this is the fourth energy level. As you are moving, the energy difference between the adjacent levels decreases. This is the assume, right? This is first energy level, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Whenever electron comes from higher energy level to the lower energy, it emits certain radiation, right? From the higher energy level is considered as N2 and the lower energy level is considered as N1. If electron is coming from higher energy level to the first lower energy level, if N1 is equal to 1, we call it as Lyman series, right? If N1 is equal to 2, then we call it as Balmer series, right? If N1 equal to 3, we call it as what we call it as Paschen series. If N1 is equal to 4, we call it as what do we call it as? We call it as bracket series. If N1 is equal to 5, we call it as Pfund series. So he is talking about the Balmer series. In the Balmer series, which of the following has lowest wavelength? See, he has given alpha line, beta line, gamma line, delta line. What is mean by alpha line? You might have already studied about all this in the video classes. So I just give a brief revision of this. Generally, alpha line is the first line. What is mean by first line? When electrons come from third energy level to the second energy level, it will be called as alpha line. When an electron jumps from fourth to second, it will be called as beta. Beta line in the Balmer series. When electrons come from fifth to second, which will be called gamma series, it will be gamma, right? When electron comes from 6th to second, it will be called as delta, right? So he is asking which of the following is having lowest wavelength. So which of the following is having, generally what is the relation between the energy and wavelength? Wavelength is energy proportional to the energy. See, here this alpha line requires least energy because it is the distance is very less, and the beta line requires somewhat more energy. Gamma line consists somewhat more energy. So it means what is happening, the energy, increasing order of energy, if you are talking, increasing order of energy required, right? It will generally what is this? It increases from H alpha to H beta, H gamma and H tau or delta H. H tau it is, right? What about the wavelength? If you are talking about the increasing order of wavelength, right? See, this is the maximum energy which will require least the lowest wavelength. It will be lambda tau, lambda gamma. This is lambda beta. This is lambda alpha. So, which is having lowest wavelength? This delta line or tau line in the Balmer series will contains the lowest wavelength because it requires maximum energy, right? If this is the E max, that has to be lambda minimum, right? Since it is associated with E max, it will be what? Lambda minimum. So what will be the answer? The fourth line. Which line it is? This is the first line, second line, third line, fourth line. Fourth line is associated with the minimum wavelength and maximum energy. Hope it is clear and hope you understood how to attempt these questions. Among the first lines, Lyman, Balmer, Paschen and Brackett series in hydrogen atomic spectrum, which has higher energy. This is also the similar sort of question. I just have explained what is meant by Lyman series, Balmer series, Paschen series and Brackett series. Right? Suppose what we say if electrons come from higher energy level to the first energy level, we call it as Lyman. If electron comes from higher energy level to the second energy level, we call it as Balmer. He is talking about the first line. If n1 is equal to 3, we call it as a Paschen. If n1 is equal to 4, we call it as Brackett. Right? So, what happens? Here the energy is increasing. Among the first line of Balmer, Paschen and Brackett series hydrogen, what happens? Since Lyman series to the Brackett series, what happens? Energy increases. Right? Which is associated with the associated with the maximum energy. Maximum energy will be associated with the higher energy will be associated with the Brackett series. When you are moving from Lyman to Pond, what happens? Energy associated with the first line of the series will increases. Right? For an electron moving in the circular orbit in the hydrogen atom, the force of attraction of the nucleus will be balanced by force equal to. Generally, we know that according to the Bohr atomic model, electrons will revolve in a fixed orbit or stationary orbital. Since what happens? Because the electron has a fixed trajectory around the nucleus because of the two opposite factors, whose values are equal, but they are opposite in sign. Magnitude will be same, but sign will be opposite. Because of that, it will have a fixed trajectory. So what he is asking, the force of attraction will be balanced. Force of attraction of the nucleus is balanced by what it will be balanced by centrifugal force. What will be the centrifugal force? It will be mv square by r. It's a direct question. It is a direct question from the postulates of Bohr. The change in velocity when hydrogen electron jumps from K shell to L shell is, right? He is asking the change in the velocity of change in the velocity when hydrogen electron jumps from K shell to the L shell. See, let us see what is the change in the velocity. Generally, we know from the Bohr atomic model that we can calculate the velocity of a given electron in any energy level. That is, I give a direct relation. V1 upon V2 will be equal to N1 upon N2 into R2 by R1. Right? What is mean by K shell? K shell means the first shell. N value will be equal to 1. And L shell means N value will be equal to 2. Right? What is mean by R1? This is the radius of electron developing the first shell. This is the radius of electron revolving in the second shell, right? This is the principal quantum number, right? And these are the velocity of electron in the first shell and velocity of the electron in the second shell, right? And we know that here R1 will be equal to what is 0.529 into 1 square, that is, which comes to be equal to, is actually given in the form of n square. If n value is 1, it will become, right? If n value you are taking as 1, it will becomes to equal to 5.29. And what about R2? It will be equal to 0.529 into 2 square, because it gets second shell. Let us substitute this data here. V1 by V2 will be equal to 1 by 2 into, what is this, 0.529 into 1 square, so it is 2 square. R2 is 0.529 into 1 square, which comes to be V1 by V2 will be equal to, what is this comes? It comes 1 by 2 and this comes 4 by, that means it comes to be 2, right? That means V1 by V2 is equal to 2. From this what it comes, V2 will be equal to V1 by 2. So that means what? What will be the change in the velocity of electron when it jumps from K shell to the L shell? It becomes half of the original velocity, right? V2 is equal to the half of V1. That means the change in the velocity will be what it is? Half of the velocity of the original velocity. What will be the answer? It is half of its original velocity. Hope it is clear. Let's move to the next question. The angular momentum of electron is angular momentum of an electron in an atom depends upon. What is mean by angular momentum? It's a quantum number which is represented with L, which will depends upon the L value. Why? Angular momentum of an electron is equal to, what is this? The root L into L plus 1 h by 2. That's a quantum number which depends upon L value, right? Hope it is clear. Bohr's model of atom explains Zeeman effect, photoelectric effect, Stark effect, hydrogen atomic spectrum, hydrogen atomic spectrum. Okay, it has to be only up to hydrogen atomic spectrum. See, what is meant by Zeeman effect? Zeeman effect means splitting of signal in the magnetic field is called as Zeeman effect, and photoelectric effect means emission of electrons from the surface of the metal when it is irradiated with required frequency. And what is meant by Stark effect? Splitting of spectral lines in electric field is called as Stark effect. And basically Bohr's atomic model does not explain Zeeman effect. These are the limitation of Bohr atomic model. It fails to explain the Zeeman effect and Stark effect, and it does not explain the photoelectric effect also. It will explain the hydrogen atomic spectrum. Okay, this is only the proven thing from the Bohr's atomic model. To which of the following is Bohr's theory applicable? To which of the following Bohr's theory is applicable? What are given? Helium plus, lithium plus 2, tritium and beryllium plus 2. Basically, Bohr's atomic model is applicable for all the species having single electron. Okay, what is the main important aspect of the Bohr atomic model? Bohr model is applicable for single electron species. It cannot be applicable for the species having more than one electron. So let us see what are all the particles which are having single electron. Helium is basically atomic number is 2, right? So when it loses an electron, it becomes helium plus 1. Initially it is having 2 electrons, now it has lost 2 electrons. The number of electrons in helium plus is what? Number of electrons in helium plus will be equal to 1. So it is also a single electron containing system. So Bohr theory can explain the spectrum of helium plus, right? And if you come to the lithium plus, lithium atomic number is 3. That means it contains originally 3 electrons. When it loses 2 electrons, it will be converted into lithium plus 2. So number of electrons in lithium plus 2 will be what? Originally it is having 3, and how many it has last 2. So how many electrons is left with? 1 electron. And what about the tritium? Tritium is what? This is 1 3, heavier isotope of the hydrogen. So number of electrons in tritium will be what? 1. It is also 1 electron containing species. And what of beryllium? Beryllium is actually having 4 electrons. When it loses 2 electrons, it becomes beryllium plus 2. So number of originally it is having 4 electrons. How many it lost? 2 electrons. So how many are remaining? 2 electrons. So basically, Bohr atomic model fails to explain the spectrum of elements having more than 1 electron. So it cannot explain the spectrum of B plus 2. So it can be applicable for helium plus, lithium plus 2 and tritium. It cannot be applicable for barium plus 2 because it is having more than 1 electron. So which of the following is the correct combination? It can explain 1, 2, 3. So this is the fourth option is the correct option for the given question. Hope it is clear. Bohr atomic model explains only the spectrum of single electron species. Now let's move to the next question. If energy of electron, energy of alpha and energy of proton represents the kinetic energy, E alpha and EP represents the kinetic energies of an electron, alpha particle and proton respectively, each moving with the same de Broglie wavelength, then so this is a question from the de Broglie's concept. According to the de Broglie concept, that kinetic energy, what is saying here, E alpha and EP represents the kinetic energy of electron, alpha particle and proton, which are having same de Broglie wavelength. So if they are having same de Broglie wavelength, then according to the de Broglie constant, kinetic energy of particle will be inversely proportional to the mass of the particle. According to the de Broglie constant, since he said they are moving the same de Broglie wavelength, they are having the same de Broglie wavelength, then kinetic energy will be inversely proportional to the mass. Then what is the relationship between the mass of electron, alpha particle and proton? If you are talking about the increasing order of mass of this particle, increasing order of mass, right, of electron, proton and alpha particle. So basically mass of electron is less than, mass of electron is less than mass of, what is this, proton, which is less than mass of alpha particle. It's a negligible mass, it is 1 unit of mass, it is 4 units of mass. Then what will be the increasing order of kinetic energy? Increasing order of kinetic energy, according to the de Broglie concept, it will be inversely proportional. That means E alpha followed by E proton followed by E electron. So this is the relation between EP and E alpha. Which of the following is the proper combination? Third one is the proper combination. Hope it is clear. Look at the next question. If the wavelength of electron is numerically equal to the distance travelled by it in 1 second, then if the wavelength of electron is numerically equal to the distance travelled by it in 1 second, what is the meaning of distance travelled by electron in 1 second? Distance travelled by electron, distance travelled by electron in 1 second is nothing but velocity. He has given the velocity, right? What is saying? Its velocity is numerically equal to what? If the wavelength of the electron is numerically equal to the velocity, he said that wavelength is equal to velocity. Then what is the relation between the, what is the expression for the wavelength? Generally we know that according to the de Broglie's constant, mu will be equal to h by mv. This is the velocity of the electron. According to the de Broglie constant, de Broglie wavelength will be equal to h by mv. Right? What is it? He asked us to assume that lambda will be equal to velocity. So then what we can write? Lambda will be equal to h by me2 lambda. From this, what it will become? Lambda square will be equal to h by m. From this, lambda will be equal to the root of h by m it is. So what is the expression for the wavelength? If the wavelength is becomes equal to the velocity, so it will be equal to lambda will be equal to the root of h by m it is. What is clear? The mass of an electron is m. It's a charge E, and it is accelerated from a rush through a potential difference V. The velocity of electron will be calculated by formula, right? The velocity, what is asking, the velocity of electron will be calculated by the formula, right? As given the mass, he is asking us to assume the mass will be m and charge is E. When it is accelerated with the potential difference V, what will be the formula to calculate the velocity of the electron, right? So according to that, here the kinetic energy of the electron will be equal to the energy supplied to it, right? What we can say? What is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is nothing but half into mv square, which is equal to the charge of the electron and potential difference. What is this? This E is the charge of the electron and V is the potential difference, right? From this, what we can write? It is a capital V square. Now, from this, V square will be equal to 2 EV upon M. From this, E will be equal to under root, what is this? 2 EV by 2 EV by M. So, what will be the formula for the velocity of electron when it is being accelerated with the potential difference V? That will be equal to, right, under root, what is this? 2V upon M it is. But is clear so? Which of the following expression represents the electron probability function? This is a concept from the quantum mechanics. From the quantum mechanics, the electron probability function is basically represented by this is a direct question 4 pi r square dr psi square. This function will represent the electron probability according to the quantum mechanics. Hope it is clear. Remaining will continue in the next class. Thank you.